The Russians continue to pull in and amass reserves in the Pokrovsk direction, accumulating equipment and personnel, and are using civilian buildings to launch drones and conduct aerial reconnaissance. Since the beginning of May alone, the unmanned systems units of the 7th Air Assault Corps have killed or wounded nearly 1,000 occupiers. Despite constant pressure, the Pokrovsk agglomeration has been holding the defense for more than 2 years now. At one time, in order to prevent the enemy from quickly reaching Pokrovsk, they were stopped on the approaches, including in the Lysivka area.
Vladislav, callsign Miesnyi, led a 25th Brigade Platoon, 7th Air Assault Corps, in Lysivka in spring 2025, blocking an enemy breakthrough to Pokrovsk. It was there, during the fighting, that the paratroopers literally snatched 2 of their own from Russian captivity.
A close friend of mine who is currently stationed at the command post just gave me a call on the phone and says, "Did you know there was a major enemy assault happening back then?" They managed to fight them off, and there were some of our guys who had been taken prisoner. After quite a bit of time had passed, they finally came out together with our wounded soldiers. At that moment, they waited for proper weather conditions and carried out the evacuation.
Junior Sergeant Griffon, now a warrant officer of the brigade, also fought for Lysivka. He says he was very happy about the release of 2 comrades because it's extremely rare for paratroopers to return from Russian captivity.
Well, basically, I know they don't take anyone from the 25th captive. Somehow these young men either happen to be incredibly fortunate, or perhaps their time just hadn't come for them yet. Maybe they just hadn't been used for their purposes yet, like digging some trench shelters. Usually they interrogate and kill them, as far as I know. Well, those who stormed. One of them died instantly on the spot, without even realizing what happened. And another, who was wounded, managed to escape. 2 guys were successfully freed.
Griffon spent 131 days in Lysivka. The paratroopers held their positions for months under constant enemy pressure.
Our main strategic objectives were to move forward and advance our lines, possibly carry out raid actions on enemy positions in order to, so to speak, realign the overall balance of forces a bit more in our favor, and to effectively block and cut off this specific direction for them a little.
The situation around the village was escalating. During one of the assaults, the Griffon group came under heavy attack.
We stormed, then pulled back. A swarm of drones came at us. They started shooting at us. They already knew where we were. Everything started flying at us. A comrade died right before our eyes.
Another one.
They slowly started tearing us apart. Another comrade suddenly rushed out, running in an unknown direction, shouting out loudly, "I can't sit here because we are completely done for here."
After that, Lysivka became a trap for the paratrooper. He was left alone at the position, and it was impossible to reach him or provide any help.
The whole problem with these kinds of positions is getting in and out, because now, and probably in 2025 as well, there's a very high intensity of drones and their activity. And there are very few, so to speak, weather conditions that allow you to move or do anything. In fact, the group that was supposed to reach Griffon was unable to get there. And so Griffon was left, unfortunately, alone for a long, long time.
That's how more than 80 days began, alone, under assaults, under drones, waiting for his own.
Grenades and incendiaries were flying in. They burned. I was on fire. I put it out. I could feel it hitting my body. Well, I thought it was shrapnel. I reported that I was wounded. Well, I actually kept on trying to block all of those main entrances once again. You couldn't sleep, and you only managed to sleep when your body just shut itself off. Communication is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what's scarier, being left without a weapon or without communication. Because our command is, we hit everything that moves. It is incredibly difficult to truly convey or describe exactly what was racing through your mind and your head at that time, especially when you are constantly running on a surge of adrenaline, completely alone, and you come to the realization that someone is persistently and actively seeking to take your life. And they can actually do it.
To get Griffon out, they waited for favorable conditions.
The difficult terrain of Lysivka made it impossible for both entry and exit. And those same drones that managed to reach us couldn't even properly drop supplies, so there was no way to evacuate him at that time. And there were no suitable weather conditions at that time either. So we waited probably for the very best moment. The guys who were sitting a bit farther away were given the task, since it would be extremely difficult and challenging for the guy to move on his own. So they dispatched an evacuation group to him to help him out.
The withdrawal from the position lasted 2 days and was very risky.
Again, at that point, they were already carrying me while I was telling them where to go. We made it out. We made it in time. They risked their lives, and the guys were holding my head. They said, hang in there. I remember when they were patting me on the shoulder and giving me a cigarette. They said, take off that helmet already.
It's okay now.
It's all over now. And I was like, I couldn't believe that I made it out.
At another position in Lysivka, Griffon's comrade Shakespeare spent 2 days. He recalls leaving that place separately.
We were just sitting under the trees, timing how often the drones were flying over. The maximum interval was 3 to 4 minutes. There was no way we could cross that area in 3 or 4 minutes. So we took roundabout routes through the thickets, through the outskirts to get out. I can't even say how long it took us to get out, but in total it was about 20 kilometers. We finally arrived somewhere around evening.
Shakespeare only learned Griffon's story after they got out.
He went through all of that and endured it all, living in complete isolation, truly alone. He managed to survive in that place for such a long time, and he endured it both mentally and physically. And then I finally got out in a single full day, but it took him 2 or even 3 days. So basically all of his adventures are like all of mine multiplied by 1.5 or even 2 times as long.
But you can't rush operations like these. The risks of a hasty exit are just too high. If you have a choice, it's better to stay at the positions longer but come back alive.
When you think that it is your soldier and he is sitting right there and you can't get to where he is, but you know he can stay there, you will do everything possible to make sure he stays there for as long as possible. Well, take the example of Griffon. You will patiently wait for the most ideal conditions to carefully pull him out. So as practice shows, a lot of those people who stay there for a long time are the ones who make it out alive, because commanders fully and clearly understand just how risky it is to simply tell him, like, run or something else. And they do absolutely everything they possibly can to make sure he safely comes back alive.
Griffon himself says, all this time he was held together by a simple thought.
He really wanted to live. And there are people for whom I am here. And what will happen if I just give up like that? I don't know about anyone else, but I want to live as a Ukrainian in Ukraine, not as some kind of, I don't know, whatever it is they think we are. We have entered history.
For over 2 years, the Pokrovsk agglomeration has held the line, and behind every city and village that stopped the enemy's advance were real people. People like the paratroopers of the 25th Brigade of the 7th Air Assault Corps, who held their positions to the very end and did everything to prevent the enemy from advancing further into Donetsk region. Alexander Volkov, Ihor Shevchenko, reporting especially for Fakti ICTV United News.